Hello Satnam, it's me, Shakti Sundari, and I'm back with you today for the next reading from the Radiance Sutras by Lauren Roche. I'm in the woods behind the festival site here at the Brymore Academy in Somerset. I had to walk around quite a way to find somewhere where I could get some signal to transmit today on Facebook Live. It's quite tricky getting the right signal here. But it's actually really lovely because I've walked through the woods and I also had to find somewhere to protect me because it was raining a little bit. And I'm in this part of the woods with all these trees and a canopy of leaves above me and leaves on the earth and then the sounds of the festival in the background. So it feels really lovely and it feels like I'm in this magical woods. So yeah, it feels good to be here. I have taught my Dancing the Goddess workshop this morning, which was really beautiful. And feels good. Feels soft. I feel soft. I feel tender and soft and a little bit more present to what's happening here. So Yukti verse 66. Hey, the last two meditations, they took us really into the darkness and our fears and the dark night of the soul. And this next sutra, this next verse and meditation is also another practice about what we can experience when we are deprived of something, we are deprived of a sense. So let's go straight into it. So this is Yukti verse 66 from the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Yasya kasya indriyasya api vyagatat chanirodata pravishtasya advaya shunya tatra eva atma prakashate. I'm just going to read it again. I'm going to try and I'll bring the words up here so I don't have to look away quite so much. So here's the Sanskrit. Yasya kasya indriyasya api vyagatat chanirodata pravishatasya advaye shunya tatra eva atma prakashate. Whenever any of the senses is impaired, it becomes a gateway to infinity. Whether by deprivation, injury, or age, obstruction of the senses invites awareness of soul. The mind can no longer take the world for granted. Attention spirals inward and touches the glistening emptiness, the reality behind appearance. Hey. Whenever any of the senses is impaired, it becomes a gateway to infinity. So this meditation presents us with that paradox of when something is limited, and we experience so much of the world through our senses, right? And most of the opening meditations in these practices have been about connecting more fully with our senses, one by one, and experiencing the world fully and ecstatically through them. And now we're being given the opposite opportunity and experience, which is when a sense is impaired, which means it's not functioning fully, properly, or at all, it becomes a gateway to infinity. So it's a paradox in that something is cut off, something is limited, something is not there, and yet there's a sort of a sense of diminishment, and yet through that sense of diminishment we can experience all that is. So how does that work? Whether by deprivation, injury, or age, obstruction of the sense invites awareness of soul. Invites awareness, so it might not be that we are able to achieve that, or somebody may not have experienced that. but it is an opportunity for that. And I'm thinking now of a couple of examples. There are so many. So this morning there was a lady in my class who came here specifically with the intention to dance and to reconnect with her body. And what happened was the very first day that she got to the festival, she fell over and she hurt her knee, her right knee quite badly, and her left knee a little bit. So now she's here at this festival where she came to re-embody, she came to dance and rediscover her grounded sense of embodiment as a woman. And both her knees are injured and hurting. Right? So she's coming to my dance classes to have that experience and exploring how can she still be fully present in the experience and yet honor where she is in her physical body. Unable to leap around, unable to move quickly. So this is an invitation which she has taken up to greater awareness. Because obviously there's always, everything is connected, there's always a message. So by listening more fully and deeply now to the needs of her body and to her knees, she wanted to feel grounded, right? And the knees are right there, they're connected to our root chakra and to our legs, which connects us to the earth. So she's being given the perfect opportunity for that learning. Thinking of a more extreme example, there's a fabulous book that I read that was recommended to me about a man who was in a car crash, and so his spinal column was injured to the extent that he lost all ability to feel and move from below the chest. Had a terrible years of suffering and having to go to physiotherapy and have many operations. It's not the kind of dream come true story where he learned to walk again, no, but this man became a yoga teacher, and what he eventually discovered was that he could tune into his energetic body so that he does have an awareness of his whole being which isn't reliant on his physical sense of being. And that came from many years of practice through a full embrace of his disability. So whether by deprivation, injury or age, obstruction of the sense invites awareness of soul. This is a difficult challenge. It's a hard challenge to meet ourselves in this way, you know, when something that we love to do and which enriches us so much is taken from us, and yet there's an invitation there to a deepening of awareness and an awakening. The mind can no longer take the world for granted. Attention spirals inward. So again, that's the invitation. So rather than going into the mind, rather than pushing away, if we take our attention inward, attention spirals inward and touches the glistening emptiness, the reality behind appearance. Sometimes, not that we would ever wish this for ourselves or anybody else, it can take something so massive to jolt us into this deeper sense of awareness and awakening to the recognition that we are not just this physical body in this finite period of time, that there is so much more than that, the soul which is infinite and always present in that expanded beyond state, beyond now, beyond this limitation, to connect with that. So if anyone who's watching this is in that place of having some kind of sensory deprivation, whether it's permanent or temporary, take it as an invitation to spiral inward, to connect more deeply with the soul, to bring more awareness to what is, and discover what's on the other side. I'm just questioning right now as I'm speaking to you how I can do that for myself right now when I'm not aware of a limitation, and yet actually as I bring my mind to it, yes, there is, because I've been going through some heartache, and so there's a sense, there's a feeling of some pain around my heart, and so I'm thinking, okay, so there's a stopping of the flow of natural joy and exuberance and limitless love that I'm familiar with at the moment, just because this pain is probably caused by a little contraction, you know, a little bit of wounding. So maybe my meditation could be, well, what happens if I spiral inward into that pain, into that contraction, and discover what's beneath and beyond that. So there's many ways in which we can embrace this. So that's me for today. Thank you for being with me, and join me again tomorrow for the next reading from the Radiance Sutras. Lots of love and Satnam.